Let me get this right. Steering wheel, check. Sunglasses, check. McDonald's Diet Coke holder, check. Well, I can still check. It's almost empty. What is going on, gang language? Carolina Jackpot time coming at you this Friday afternoon. That also means it's August 5th, 2022. Hope everyone is having a great Friday. The reason why you are staring at the bottom of Carolina Jackpot steering wheel right now is because the suction cup that holds the mount that goes on my windshield, that holds my cellular device while I make my gold videos, melted. Yeah, it melted right square off and rendered it damn useless. Which, you know what, the ones I get are pretty cheap anyway. I don't go for anything expensive, do them $5, $6 jobs. And really, if you take them off one time, you can't reseal them back anyway, even if it's not hotter than Satan's balls. So there's that. I have to get another one you'll just have to deal with if you want to watch the video. Anyway, if you want to watch the video, click the thumbs up. Leave a comment in the comment section below on this topic today, and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. We're going to have a lot of fun here all year long on this channel talking college football, and then we've got a big announcement coming up later on in the video. So I wanted to talk South Carolina football today, and wanted to talk a little bit about the 2022 season. Not ready to drop my South Carolina Gamecocks season preview video yet. That'll be coming up in a couple of weeks. I want to get into some summer camp. They call it fall camp. It's summer camp to me. It's 1,000,000 degrees down here. It's summer camp. You know, and just to see how things pan out, see who's looking good, see who's not looking as good, and obviously the most important, see who gets injured. Because we know somebody's going to get hurt, somebody's going to get banged up, somebody's going to miss a few games. It happens every year. Thankfully, it hasn't happened as much since Will Muschamp's regime has been gone. I think the strength and conditioning program at South Carolina is working. The important part right now is just damn hydration, man. Hydration, hydration, hydration. Can't have any of that soft tissue stuff creeping in there. I don't know that you could be too hydrated right now. Practicing, and of course they're not going to practice here in the middle of the day, but it's hot all the time, pretty much. So there's that. We wanted to talk about some of these losing streaks that South Carolina has to some SEC teams. Which one is the most important that they snap this year in order to call this season a success? Which one is it? I want to run down the list real quick in case you're not familiar. They have a 2-game losing streak to the Georgia Bulldogs, last defeating them in 2019. They have a 2-game losing streak to the Kentucky Wildcats, last defeating them in 2019, 24-7 in Williams-Brice Stadium. They have an 8-game losing streak. Yeah, 8-game losing streak to the Texas A&M Aggies. They have never beaten this team. Started playing in 2014 and have not won a single time. A couple of those games, probably 3 of them, I would say they had a puncher's chance in. One of them, I say they should have outright won the damn thing in 2017. 2018, they lost at home. I got really mad at that one. It was really an upsetting one. The last couple of years have been blowouts. And there's just no damn reason for it. There's really not. Texas A&M, do they have better talent? Yes, they do. But let's bear that out against other SEC teams. They haven't had that kind of dominance and that kind of success. Hell, Vanderbilt has played Texas A&M closer than South Carolina has the last time they matched up with them. So absolutely inexcusable. They have a 3-game losing streak to Mizzou, last beating them in 2018. Nothing to disparage Mizzou, but when you run down the list of top teams in the SEC, they do not qualify, and they own a 3-game losing streak to the hated Tennessee Volunteers. And I've had Tennessee fans on my channel. We've talked with them. They're really fun to. More so than the fact that I don't like Tennessee, they're also really fun to get up under the skin of. They're fun to rile up. Florida Gator fans aren't fun to rile up. You try to come at them and they just come back with a bunch of cursing and just a bunch of gibberish that makes no damn sense. Tennessee will throw some facts up there, but then they can't help but just lace it with delusion and just stupidity, just dumb things. I had one yesterday, so we're going to blow y'all out again, just like we do every year. But no, generally, those games are pretty close. That's why last year's line was a very short one. The 45-20 loss was shocking because it was an anomaly. Because those games are normally very close, even when it's a good Carolina team and a bad Tennessee team, it'll be a close game. When it's a bad South Carolina team and a good Tennessee team, they've been close games. You can kind of take out the late 90s when Peyton Manning was there and South Carolina absolutely sucked donkey nuts. Those games were not close nor competitive. But for the most part, it's been a fairly hotly contested series with most of the games going Tennessee's way, unfortunately. But which one of these is most important? And it's conspicuous by its absence, of course, is the Clemson game. But it's not an SEC game. I think everybody agrees that one is very important, that you win a game in that series. You cannot let that thing reach 10 games. And I don't think it will. This year, I haven't put out the pick and prediction video yet, but the chances that it reaches 8 games this year is very good. It's very high. And in fact, I think it's in the at least 90 percentile that it reaches 8 games. I don't think it reaches 9. I don't think it reaches 9 games. I think next year is the year that you're looking at with South Carolina finally coming out on top and getting that monkey off their back. But that's another story for another day. Like I said, I haven't really done a preview video, and I don't want to give too much away on it. But let's just talk about this for a second. And where could we land with this? Okay, snapping the Georgia streak. Is that important? Yes. Is that doable? I don't know, man. I don't know. This is a home game coming in week 3. It's your second SEC game in a row, and it's not like it comes off a home game against Vanderbilt. You come into this game off a road game at Arkansas. Arkansas is a physical team. They are, an above-average team right now, playing at a high level. I think playing at a higher level than the talent they have there on the field. For Coach Sam Pittman, there's a chance you can come up a little bit banged up from that game. But you want to win that game so you can, kind of get a little bit of a measure of maybe stuck it to you. South Carolina's has lost a commitment a couple of years ago in quarterback Gunnar Stockton to Georgia. They also had a highly sought after tight end in Oscar Delp, who was supposed to pick between South Carolina, Michigan, and Georgia, that chose to go to Michigan like it's past October. Pretty disappointing there as well. So you kind of want to get a measure on that kind of stuff, just to stick it back at them, stick it in their face a little bit. And you got to think, if South Carolina is able to win this game, it blows the SEC East wide open early in the season. So this is a very important game as far as recruiting goes, and as far as just the general trajectory of the not just South Carolina season, but the entire SEC East pecking order goes, right? So we definitely have to look at that as being up there. Is that the most important? You have a 3-game losing streak to the Vols, as I just said. Last year's game was a blowout loss, very embarrassing. Tennessee, in the second half of that game, it's not as if South Carolina played badly. It's just the first quarter they played horribly let Tennessee jump out on them like 21-0. And South Carolina's offense is just not built to come back from. Well, it's not really built to come back from any kind of deficit. To be honest with you, especially last year. Last year was that offense was it was definitely not top shelf. And when they got down early, I think that was probably the game plan. Get them down early and don't let them back up. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, they deserved to lose that football game the way that they did. They were not come in prepared. Didn't come in looked like they were well coached. They, in fact, looked like they'd never seen a football before for the first 30 minutes of that game. So definitely disappointing. How important is snapping this losing streak? In the circles of recruiting, I don't know. South Carolina and Tennessee don't really battle a lot for the same players. You will see them from time to time have some kids that have both teams in their top 5 lists and this and that, but for the most part, they don't. The NIL collectives, Tennessee seems to have one of the biggest ones in the country right now. Winning this game is going to be good for a little bit of bragging rights, a little bit of trash talk, and just snapping this thing, getting a good momentum booster going into your rivalry game at the end of the year. Winning that last home game, senior day, is going to be very important. Some very important Gamecocks who have contributed a lot to this program. I would think that this would be the final game in Williams-Brice Stadium for people like Carryon Joyner, for people like Josh Vann, for people like Brad Johnson, that have been with this program, rocking it the long way. People like Eric Douglas on the offensive line that you probably won't see back in the Garnet Black again after that game. It's very important that South Carolina win that one. The Texas A&M game. For some reason, South Carolina just can't get this monkey off of its back. And it's almost comical when you look at some of the Texas A&M teams that they have fielded over the years. It's just not been very good. They have been the subject of a lot of ridicule, a lot of trash talk over on Twitter, a lot of trash talk over on YouTube about Texas A&M, a lot of trash talk about Jimbo Fisher. His popular little nickname that I've heard given him the past few weeks is the White Kevin Sumlin, right? Because that's all Kevin Sumlin did. Well, obviously, Kevin Sumlin was black, and the best he could do was go like 8-4 every year. Even though he was pulling in dudes, the best he could do was go 8-4. Jimbo Fisher has been pulling in dudes. He's been pulling in more dudes than Kevin Sumlin did, and the best that he can do yet is go 8-4. However, these Texas A&M folks, I think that they're dethroning Alabama every year, and every year they get set up for disappointment. Every year they fail to dethrone Alabama, and then they lose another snoot full of games that are against inferior competition they should be beating, i.e. LSU and Mississippi State. I don't get it. But the thing is, South Carolina is not allowed to join in that mockery. We can't join into that mockery because we've never beaten them. In the past 2 years, it's been quite frankly embarrassing. Texas A&M has just absolutely whipped them on the line of scrimmage. With the Ryan Day Strength and Conditioning, Luke Day, excuse me, not right. The Luke Day Strength and Conditioning program. South Carolina has seemed to avoid the nasty injuries that we always had during the Muschamp era. Now we need to get a little bit stronger on the lines of scrimmage to be able to stand up to teams like this. Don't get blown off the ball consistently. Don't consistently be giving up big plays along the defensive front. That kind of stuff has got to stop. That's why you're getting blown out by teams like this, by teams like Clemson. You're just not matching up well with them pound for pound. Hopefully that's solved. But honestly, in the trajectory of winning the SEC East or winning or competing for an SEC East title or just moving up the ladder in the SEC East, for God's sake. This one really doesn't help you a lot. It really doesn't help you a lot. In fact, it's like I said, it's almost comical. It's almost one of those things that it's almost like, well, you'd hate to see it stop. You just hate to see it stop. I mean, we're just destined. This is just destiny. It's like death, taxes, and lose to Texas A&M, usually in blowout fashion. I mean, it would seem like something is wrong with the world if South Carolina beat this team. Well, a lot of things are wrong with the world right now. But, yeah, and I don't know that beating this team's going to solve all of them. But, yeah, it will be. It's a huge game that South Carolina does need to get some monkey off their back. They need to beat this team. This year, is this the year they do it? I don't know. That remains to be seen. However, on this long list of teams, this one, to me, is less important than some of the other ones as far as carving a niche in SEC East and just an overall loss snapping category. I think this is the one you would put lowest in the category. The losing streak to Mizzou, 3 games. This one, quite frankly, just perturbs the shit out of me. There's absolutely no reason that South Carolina should be losing to Mizzou. Why? But because it's one of the few teams at this point in time in the SEC that you're more talented than. You know, the 2019 loss to Missouri was it was horrible. That was the game where we saw young Ryan Holinsky attempt to throw a touchdown pass to himself, and it was bounced on in the end zone by Missouri linebacker Cale Garrett, who was the only individual in Faroe Field at the point in time that knew that he'd scored a touchdown. Oh shit, he scored a touchdown. He did. He's right. It's no small miracle either that a guy named Cale was the smartest person in the building that day. Keep that in mind, food for thought. The 2020 game, I believe, was immediately after Will Muschamp had been fired. South Carolina got down early, battled back a little bit, still just couldn't do it. It was also, I think, was Luke Doty, maybe it was his first start. I'm not sure. He started that game after the transient from Colorado State, Colin Hill, failed to deliver a spark, which he'd done in like 6 previous games, but it just finally took us that long to figure it out. And then last year's loss, there was absolutely no excuse for. South Carolina was coming off of an utter bitch slapping of the Florida Gators. And then, you know, what do they do for an encore? They go on the road and they shut down the back of both legs against a horrible Missouri team with absolutely no run defense. And what does South Carolina do? They absolutely don't run the ball. Don't make any plays. They fall behind by a couple of touchdowns. Try to come back. Can't do it. Like I said, the offense not built for coming back. That one hurt. I wouldn't say that was the worst, you know, the worst game execution of the season. I would say that would have to be the Tennessee game or Texas A&M game. But it was, I just want to say, just a bad game plan from start to finish. There's no way that South Carolina should have lost that game to that team. If it was on the road, if it were in Columbia, South Carolina, if it were on the tarmac at the Columbia airport, they should not have lost that game, but they did. And snapping this losing streak is very important. South Carolina has got to get this monkey off their back. If you want to be an upper-level team in the SEC East, if you want to be a team that contends to go to Atlanta year in, year out, you've got to get back to beating these mediocre teams again. You just got to do it. I mean, there's no 2 ways about it. You cannot. South Carolina's always been bad at this. You know, even the years when they were finishing 11-2. I mean, shit in the bed against a terrible Tennessee team after you've You've beaten you beat Georgia, Florida, and everybody else under the sun. You beat Missouri when they were really good, but then you crap the bed against a terrible Tennessee team. They've been known for doing these things. You got to get past that. You've got to, if you want to be a 9-3 team, a 10-2 team, guess what? Beat 6-6 teams. Beat 5-7 teams. Don't lose to them. Have good game plans against them. Execute. Out-athlete them and beat them. So I would definitely put this one up there. I'm putting this in as number 2. South Carolina has got to beat Missouri this year and snap that streak. If they don't win this game, the season's not going to be successful. It's not going to be successful in my eyes because it leads into other things. If you're not beating them, you're not going to beat some of these other teams on your schedule, like your Tennessees, right? Like your Floridas down the road, like your Arkansas. I don't think you're going to beat Arkansas anyway. You're not beating them if you can't beat Missouri, point blank. I'm not talking about Missouri like they're a shithole, but Missouri's just not that good. They're really mediocre. And then there's the streak against Kentucky. 2-game losing streak there. Not a long losing streak. However, doesn't seem a lot longer than that? Doesn't it seem like that 24-7 win in Williams-Brice Stadium in 2019? It doesn't seem like it didn't even happen. Doesn't it seem like South Carolina hasn't beaten Kentucky in 10 years? It really does. I mean, one win over these fools is not enough to wash away the stench of like 8 losses to them. Not to disparage Kentucky, okay? I have respect for what Mark Stoops has done there. I have respect for him, slowly building the program the right way. He's made some obviously had some player attitude issues there, right? Had some assistant coaches do some kind of dumb things there. We don't exactly know what happened with that, but every team deals with that. Every team deals with that to some degree. He's no different. I'm sure he'll handle it the right way. It's just that every year, I think this team gets a little bit, and this year especially, going in this year especially, I've seen people picking Kentucky to go 10-2. People picking Kentucky to upset Georgia and win the SEC East. When pigs fly, okay? That's not happening. It didn't happen last year. It's not happening this year for sure. They've lost some production at wide receiver, which is really going to hurt them. The loss of Wandale Robinson, who set the school record for touchdowns and receiving yards last year. Now, I do think that they will develop a decent passing game at some point in the season because I believe big arm quarterback Will Levis is just good. I mean, I think that he'll find himself some weapons that he likes, and he'll go to them often, and they'll be okay. One question mark, though, is I have a new offensive coordinator. How are those two going to mesh? How's Will Levis going to adapt to his coaching style, his philosophies, his offensive schematics? It's not going to be exactly what he was doing with Liam Cohen. It's not going to be a carbon copy. You got some losses on the offensive line. This is a Kentucky team that South Carolina can beat. They have some losses, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that is going to make them a little bit susceptible. And these people that say they're going 10-2 are drunk on some bourbon or moonshine or whatever it is they make up there. That's really not good for the brain cells after you've had a lot of it. I'm not seeing it happening. If it does, I would be very, very shocked and surprised. Very shocked and surprised. I think people now have gotten to the point where they look at Mark Stoops' reputation when they're making a prediction on Kentucky more than looking at the X's and the O's and the Jimmies and the Jizzos. So South Carolina's going on the road. That's on October 8th. They have 2 games prior to that against extremely winnable competition in Charlotte and South Carolina State. South Carolina should go into this game with a 3-2 record. That's what I'm figuring. Get healthy against Charlotte and South Carolina State. Go to Kentucky. You got to win this ball game. This one is going to. If you win this ball game, you go 4-2. You're at least staring 6 wins in the face. And of course, that's not the scene. That's not the goal. 6 wins is not the goal. 8-9 wins is the goal. That's the goal. But you win this one, you're 4-2. You've got games that you should win against Mizzou. You've got a game you should win against Vanderbilt. You've got a game you should win on the road against Florida. And you've got a game against Tennessee at home that will probably be a barn burner that will go down to the fourth quarter. So this one is going to, it'll set a lot of things in motion the right way if South Carolina is able to win this game. Can they do it? I mean, can they get the monkey off their back? You know, we've heard, a lot from Shane Beamer over the past few months about, the vibe just feels different. Everything just feels different. Things here are just everything's moving in a positive direction. We're hearing it from people talking about the program. That's all going to be kind of for naught if you don't start winning some winnable games. You've got to win the winnable games, guys. And by no means am I trying to throw shade at Beamer or throw him under the bus or saying he's on the hot seat right now. But I'm telling you, it's time to start winning some of these winnable games. That's not, last year the wins over Florida and Auburn at home were nice. They weren't expected. You were a big underdog there. There are reasons behind those, though. I think that Florida had tanked on Dan Mullen by that point. Not saying that South Carolina played well in that game. They played very well. I'm not saying that if Florida hadn't brought their A game at South Carolina, would have won. They might have won it by 3 points. They might have won it by 3 points, but they might have damn won it still. In the Auburn game, I still think Auburn pushed South Carolina around a little bit in that game, and that one I think was won by benefit of Brian Harsin and his coaching staff just being absolute buffoons. It was. But you also look back at it and say, well, you should have had the Missouri game. You should have had that game. However, your other losses were blowout losses. There really weren't any other losses that you could have had. So it is vital that South Carolina beats Kentucky. You've got to get past this. I don't know what. I don't know if there was anything magical that happened because, South Carolina was beating Kentucky. They beat them like 9 out of 10 years going into this. Kentucky's owned the series against South Carolina the past 8 years, and South Carolina still leads the damn thing overall. And I honestly don't think that it's, something got in their heads. There's some reason they can't get past Kentucky. There's some reason they can't do it. No, it's not that. In 2014, it was an upset. That was an upset. South Carolina was definitely better than Kentucky that year. They should not have lost that game in no way, shape, or form. The defense was horrible, but offensively, South Carolina was way better than Kentucky. That one was an upset. The other ones, they hadn't been upsets, guys. Haven't been upsets. Kentucky was the better team. They were just a better team, and they won the game. So we shouldn't be looking at what's the mindset, what's the roadblock here? Why can't we, get past Kentucky? But what's going on right here? What is this team? What kind of black magic are they holding over our heads? It's not. They've just been a better team. The big question is, how did you let them get better than you? How'd you let them get better than you? That's what you ought to be upset about. That's what you ought to be questioning. Bar none, 100%, there's no question about it in my mind. The game on October the 8th against Kentucky in Commonwealth Stadium, I still call it that, Commonwealth Stadium / Kroger Field in Lexington. That is the biggest game of the season. And it is the SEC losing streak that the Gamecocks most desperately need to snap. Now, there's your answer, guys. I know it took me a few minutes to get there, but hey, I'm driving, and I didn't have anything else to do except talking to you guys. Make sure that you enter our Callaway's College Football Pick'em Challenge. We've got about 20 participants in there so far. You're just going to PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App $20 to Carolina Jackpot, and I'll put the links to do that down in the description box below. If you PayPal, please send it as friends and family. Don't send it as goods and services. Otherwise, PayPal bitch slaps me for like $1.40. And I want to be able to give the entire pot to someone at the end of the season when all is done. Last year, our winner took home just north of $2,000 right before Christmas time as well. Who's going to win this year? Who's going to get in? You all talk about your college football knowledge. Put it on display in the Callaway's College Football Pick'em. We pick our games every Sunday night, and then on Wednesday night, Rob and I actually on the live show make our picks for you live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever you can see the Rob and Kel show. We make our picks live, and then you have until Saturday morning before the games kick off to submit your picks and make changes to your picks if you wish to do so. It is very fun. It's competitive. There's a lot of people that get in there, a lot of people that like to jockey for position and look at the leaderboard and see who's beating who and where am I at this week. And, there's people that, actually, I think they set their alarm on Sunday morning for Rob to put up that leaderboard so they can see where they finished at and who they're ahead of now, and who if they had a bad week, maybe who they fell behind, and what I need to do next week to catch up. So all really good stuff, all a lot of fun. The Callaway's College Football Bowl Pick'em, just the Callaway's College Football Pick'em Challenge, not the Bowl Pick'em Challenge. We do one of those too. I'm getting ahead of myself by a few months there. It's only $20 to get in, and you could take home a pot of $2,000 if you win. Heck, it could be $3,000. It could be $4,000. It just depends on how many folks we get to buy into this thing before week 0 starts. Right? Before week 0 starts. We're going to pick the games in week 0 this year. We've got 7 of those, and there's some short lines there, and it's going to take a little bit of skill, I believe, for someone to go 7-0 in week 0, but I think it can be done. It might be done by Carolina Jackpot, or it might not. I'll see you all later. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Peace, and I'm out. Go Gamecocks. Woo! And go Coach Beamer.